Aliens expected our surrender, but got the rise of Terran power. The morning sky over Seoul looked wrong. Admiral Daeho Kim stood on the balcony of the Terran Defense Command building, watching dark shapes block out the sun. The alien ships were massive, each one larger than a city. They hung in the air like black clouds that would never bring rain. Daeho had spent 30 years preparing for war, but never a war like this. He had studied every battle in human history, from ancient sword fights to modern space conflicts. Nothing had prepared him for ships that could appear from nowhere and make Earth's most powerful weapons look like toys. "Sir, they're sending a message." Captain Bo-Ram Lee's voice came from behind him. She was young, maybe 28, with the kind of sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her pilot uniform was perfectly pressed, but Daeho could see the tension in her shoulders. "What kind of message?" Daeho asked, not turning around. He kept watching the ships. There were dozens of them, positioned over every major city on Earth. New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, all of them had dark shadows hanging overhead. "It's complex. Dr. Park is working on it now." Dr. Hyejin Park was the best language expert Earth had. She could speak 12 human languages and had spent years studying theoretical alien communication patterns. If anyone could understand what these visitors wanted, it was her. Daeho followed Bo-Ram inside. The command center buzzed with activity. Screens showed data from around the world. Every nation was reporting the same thing. Alien ships, perfectly positioned, completely silent until now. Dr. Park stood in front of a large screen, her fingers dancing over a holographic display. Mathematical symbols and sound waves filled the air around her. She looked tired, like she had been working all night. "What do they want?" Daeho asked. Hyejin looked up, pushing her glasses back on her nose. "They want to talk, but not the way we usually talk. They're using some kind of universal translator system. It's incredibly advanced. Can you understand them?" "Most of it, yes. They call themselves the Dominion Fleet. It's a group of different alien species working together. 7 main groups from what I can tell." President Jin Woo-yoon's face appeared on the main screen. He was calling from the emergency bunker in Busan. "Admiral Kim, what's the situation?" "Unknown, sir. Dr. Park is translating their message now." Hyejin pressed something on her control panel. The room filled with a deep, rumbling voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The words were clear, but the tone was cold and empty. "People of Earth, we are the Dominion Fleet. We speak for 7 advanced civilizations that control this region of space. You will listen carefully." The voice paused. Everyone in the room stopped what they were doing. "Your world has been selected for integration into the Dominion. This is not a request. This is an announcement. You have 72 hours to prepare for peaceful transfer of control." "Transfer of control?" President Yoon's voice was sharp. The alien voice continued. "Resistance is pointless. We have conquered 43 worlds. Each time, the local population chose cooperation over destruction. We recommend the same choice for you." Suddenly, the screens around the room changed. Instead of Earth data, they showed space. But not empty space, and space filled with rocks and debris. "These were worlds that chose resistance," the voice said. "They are now asteroid fields. Their populations are extinct. Their cities are dust. Their history is forgotten. The images changed. Now they showed different planets, all looking similar. Gray buildings, identical in every city. Beings walking in straight lines, all wearing the same clothes. These are worlds that chose cooperation. Their populations are safe. Their needs are met. They serve the Dominion with purpose and order." Bo-Ram stepped closer to Daeho. "Sir, our sensors are picking up energy readings from their ships. The power levels are impossible." "How impossible?" "Each ship has more power than our entire global energy grid. And there are 78 ships." The alien voice spoke again. "You will designate leaders to meet with our representatives. They will arrange the details of integration. Any attempt to flee your world or call for outside help will result in immediate termination." "How do they know we might try to call for help?" someone whispered. "Because they've done this before," Hyejin said quietly. 43 times. The transmission continued. "We understand that some of you may have concerns about integration. This is natural. All previous worlds experienced similar concerns. These concerns will fade as you adapt to your new role in the Dominion." President Yoon's face was grim. "Admiral, what are our options?" Daeho looked around the room. Every face showed the same thing, fear mixed with disbelief. Earth had always imagined first contact with aliens. They had made movies about it, written books, held conferences, but in all those stories humans had some kind of chance. I need to see their ships up close, Deho said. Boram, can you get a fighter squadron airborne without triggering their weapons? I can try, sir. But if they can destroy entire planet, they won't destroy us yet. They want us intact. That gives us some time. The alien voice was reaching its end. Integration will begin in 72 hours. Prepare your populations for new governance. Prepare your leaders for instruction. Prepare your world for peace under Dominion rule. The transmission ended. The room fell silent except for the hum of electronics. President Yoon was the first to speak. Gentlemen, ladies, I want options. All options. Military, diplomatic, scientific, everything. Sir, said General Haewon Kang, appearing on another screen, I've been running combat simulations. With their power levels and our current technology, what are the odds? Less than 1% chance of victory in direct confrontation. And if we surrender? Dr. Park spoke up. Based on their message, we become another gray world. Our culture disappears. Our freedom ends. But most of us live. Most of us. They'll need to remove anyone who might cause trouble later. Leaders, military officers, scientists, artists, anyone who might inspire others. Deho felt something cold settle in his stomach. He thought about his daughter, studying art in Paris. His son, working as a teacher in Busan. His wife, who grew flowers in their small garden and always believed the best of people. They don't understand us, he said quietly. What do you mean? President Yoon asked. Deho looked at the screens showing those gray, identical cities. They think we'll make the same choice as 43 other worlds. They think we'll choose survival over freedom. Won't we? Someone asked. Deho smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. They've never met humans before. The room stirred. People looked at each other and something passed between them. Not hope exactly, but something harder. Something that had carried humans through ice ages and plagues, through wars and disasters, through every impossible situation they had ever faced. 72 hours, President Yoon said. That's not much time. It's enough, Deho replied. Boram, get every pilot ready. Hae-jin, keep analyzing their communications. Everyone else, start preparing for the only choice we can make. Which choice is that, sir? Deho looked out at the alien ships hanging over his world like a death sentence. The human choice. Aliens expected our surrender but got the rise of Terran power. The 72 hours passed like a heartbeat. When the deadline arrived, every human on Earth knew what was coming. They had made their choice. The aliens were about to learn what that choice meant. Overlord Kextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet below. He was tall and covered in dark green scales, with eyes that had seen 43 worlds bend their knee. His claws tapped against the metal railing as he waited for Earth's surrender message. It never came. Sir, his communications officer said, the deadline has passed. No response from the planet. Kextar's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. This had never happened before. Every world sent surrender terms before the deadline. Every world chose life over pointless resistance. Send a final warning, he ordered. Sir, incoming transmission from the planet. The main screen flickered to life. Instead of surrender, it showed a human face. Admiral Daeho Kim stood in what looked like a military command center. Behind him, humans worked at stations, calm and focused. Overlord Kextar, Daeho said, I am Admiral Kim of the Terran Defense Force. I have a message for you and your fleet. Kextar leaned forward. Perhaps this was the surrender after all. Our answer is no. The words hung in the air like a physical thing. Around the bridge, alien officers looked at each other in confusion. No, what did no mean in this context? You will regret this choice, Kextar said. Begin the bombardment. Wait, Daeho said. Before you start, let me show you something. The screen split. On one side, Admiral Kim continued speaking. On the other side, images appeared from around Earth. But these weren't images of panic or chaos. They showed humans working together. In Seoul, families helped each other into underground shelters, but they were singing as they worked. In London, children drew pictures on bunker walls. In New York, people shared food and told stories. You've destroyed 43 worlds, Daeho said. But you've never fought humans before. We don't surrender. We don't give up. And we definitely don't bow. Captain Boram Lee sat in her fighter cockpit waiting in the shadow of Earth's moon. Around her, 200 other pilots did the same. They all knew the plan was crazy. They all knew they might die in the next few minutes. None of them cared. "All units, this is command." Admiral Kim's voice crackled through their headsets. "The bombardment is beginning. Remember, we're not trying to win this battle. We're trying to survive it and learn from it." Boram checked her weapons one more time. Her fighter carried missiles designed for space combat between human ships. Against alien technology, they were probably useless, but probably wasn't the same as definitely. The alien bombardment began. Beams of energy struck Earth's surface, targeting military installations and major cities. But the beams hit empty buildings and abandoned bases. The humans had moved everything important underground or into space. Now, Boram shouted into her radio. 200 human fighters streaked out from behind the moon. They moved fast and low, using Earth's debris field and old satellites as cover. The aliens had superior weapons and shields, but they had never fought in Earth's cluttered orbital space. Boram's squadron hit the nearest alien ship from 6 different directions. Their missiles exploded against energy shields that could stop planet-killing weapons, but the explosions created light and confusion, and in that chaos, something unexpected happened. Lieutenant Taemin Jang, flying the smallest and fastest fighter, managed to slip through a gap in the alien ship's shields. His fighter was damaged and dying, systems failing one by one, but he had one missile left. He flew straight into the alien ship's engine port. The explosion lit up space like a new star. When the light faded, one of the mighty Dominion ships was spinning out of control, atmosphere bleeding into space through a massive hole in its hull. On the flagship bridge, alarms blared. Kextar stared at the tactical display in shock. One of his ships was crippled, and the humans had done it with primitive chemical rockets and metal alloy. "How is this possible?" he demanded. His tactical officer was studying the sensor data. "Sir, they used our own shield frequency against us. When their primitive explosives hit our shields, they created a resonance pattern. One of their smaller craft used that pattern to slip through. That's impossible. No species has ever—" "Sir, they're doing it again." Another squadron of human fighters was attacking a different ship. This time they knew what they had learned from the first attack. They coordinated their missiles to create the exact resonance pattern they needed. Commander Sang-Wook Choi watched the battle from Earth's primary orbital defense station. The station was built into a large asteroid that had been captured years ago for mining. Now it served as a hidden weapons platform. "Fire all batteries," he ordered. The asteroid lit up with weapons fire. Railguns that had been designed for mining now hurled metal slugs at alien ships. The slugs were moving so fast they were almost impossible to track. They hit alien hulls like bullets hitting paper. Down on Earth, Dr. Hyojin Park was listening to alien communications. She had learned to understand their language quickly, and what she heard worried her. "Admiral," she called Kim on his private channel. "They're calling for reinforcements." "And sir?" "They sound scared." "Scared?" "They keep saying unprecedented resistance and unknown tactical patterns." "Sir, I don't think they've ever had a fight like this before." In space, the battle continued. Humans died. Ships were destroyed. But for every human fighter lost, the aliens lost something too. Equipment. Confidence. The certainty that they were fighting primitive beings who would break easily. Boram's fighter had taken damage, but she was still flying. She watched as engineer Mi Young-han's experimental weapon platform engaged an alien cruiser. The platform was built from parts of an old space station, welded together with whatever metal they could find. It looked like junk. It fired a beam that cut through alien armor like it was made of glass. "What was that?" Boram asked over the radio. "Focused solar energy," Mi Young replied. "I took apart every solar panel we had and turned them into a weapon. It's only good for one shot, but..." The alien cruiser was listing badly, its weapon systems offline. Kextar watched his fleet struggle against what should have been an easy victory. 3 of his ships were damaged. Dozens of his fighters were destroyed, and the humans kept fighting with a ferocity that made no sense. "Sir," his communications officer said. "Message from the human admiral." Daeho's face appeared on the screen again. This time there was smoke behind him and his uniform was torn. But his eyes were bright with something Kextar had never seen in 43 conquests. "Hope." "Overlord," Daeho said. "How did we do for primitives?" The question hung in space between them. In the background of Daeho's transmission, humans were cheering, not celebrating victory. They had lost more than they won, but cheering because they had fought, because they had hurt their enemies, Because they had proven that humans don't break easily. Kextar cut the transmission. He looked around his bridge at officers who had served in dozens of easy conquests. Now they looked uncertain. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "should we continue the bombardment?" Kextar stared at the planet below. 43 worlds had surrendered by now. Earth was still fighting, still hoping, still believing they could win. For the first time in his long career, Kextar wasn't sure what would happen next. Aliens expected our surrender, but got the rise of Terran power. 6 months had passed since the first battle. Earth looked different now. Cities that once gleamed with lights were dark on the surface, but underground, humanity buzzed with activity like never before. Dr. Kyung-Soo Lim worked in a laboratory built inside what used to be a subway tunnel in Seoul. Around him, scientists from every nation on Earth shared their knowledge freely. Russian nuclear physicists worked next to Japanese engineers. American computer programmers coded alongside Indian mathematicians. "The quantum readings are still unstable," Kyung-Soo said, studying the holographic display floating above his workbench. He was trying to understand why human technology had suddenly started improving so rapidly. "Maybe unstable is good," said Dr. Mi Young-han, walking up with a cup of coffee made from recycled water and synthetic beans. "Everything about this war is unstable." Mi Young had become famous after her solar weapon platform destroyed an alien cruiser. Now she led a team of engineers who turned garbage into weapons. Their latest creation was a fighter made from old car parts and alien metal salvaged from destroyed ships. "How's the new prototype?" Kyung-Soo asked. "It flies. That's about all I can promise." Mi Young smiled, but her eyes were tired. They were all tired. 6 months of constant work, constant fighting, constant hope mixed with despair. But they were still alive. Still fighting. Captain Yoonji Shin stood in the hangar bay, looking at humanity's first attempt at building their own starship. It was ugly, constructed from metal plates welded together and powered by engines that barely worked. But it was theirs, ma'am. Lieutenant Taemin Jang approached. He had survived his suicide run into the alien ship and become a hero to pilots everywhere. "The crew is ready for the test flight," Yoonji nodded. The test wasn't just about seeing if their ship could fly. Hidden in the asteroid belt, human engineers had been studying every piece of alien technology they could find. They had learned things the aliens never intended to teach them. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" General Haewon Kang's voice came through her communicator. "If the Dominion detects faster than light travel from Earth, they'll know we're more dangerous than they thought," Yoonji finished. "Good, let them know." The ship launched quietly, using chemical rockets to clear Earth's gravity. Only when it reached the edge of the solar system did Yoonji give the order she had dreamed of giving. "Engage the drive." Space twisted around them like water going down a drain. Stars stretched into lines of light. And then, in less time than it took to blink, they were somewhere else. 43 light-years from Earth on a world called Nethys, something impossible was happening. The gray-skinned Nethians had been part of the Dominion for 12 years. They worked in the mines, built the ships, followed orders without question, until today. Kethamar was a mine supervisor. He had learned long ago not to hope for anything beyond his daily ration and 8 hours of sleep. But this morning something was different. Workers whispered to each other instead of staying silent. They shared food when no one was watching. "What's happening?" Kethamar asked his assistant. "Haven't you heard? The humans are fighting back." Humans. A new species the Dominion tried to conquer. But they won't surrender. They've been fighting for 6 months. Kethamar felt something he had forgotten existed. It was warm and dangerous and made him want to stand up straighter. It was hope. Back on Earth, Dr. Hyejin Park was analyzing intercepted Dominion communications when she made a discovery that changed everything. "Admiral," she called Kim on the emergency channel. "You need to hear this." Admiral Dae-ho Kim looked older than he had 6 months ago. The constant stress of war had aged him, but his eyes were still sharp. "What is it?" "Sir, the Dominion is receiving messages from their conquered worlds. Rebellion, strikes, sabotage. The conquered species are rising up." Dae-ho sat down heavily. "Because of us? Because of our example. Sir, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for the entire galaxy." The weight of that realization settled on everyone in the command center. 43 worlds were looking to Earth for inspiration. Billions of beings who had given up hope were hoping again. Captain Boram Lee was leading a patrol near Jupiter when her sensors detected something impossible. Ships were approaching from outside the solar system, but they weren't Dominion vessels. Unknown ships. Identify yourselves, she transmitted. The response came in broken, hopeful voices speaking dozens of different languages. We are free Nethians, escaped Zelek prisoners, Korthak rebels. We heard about the human resistance. We want to help. Boram stared at her tactical display. 12 ships, all different designs, all flying together toward Earth. Refugees and rebels from across Dominion space, drawn by stories of a world that refused to surrender. Welcome to the fight, she said. On the Dominion flagship, Overlord Kextar read reports that made his blood cold. 17 worlds reporting unrest, 9 mining colonies shut down by strikes, 3 entire fleets requesting additional security forces, all because one primitive world wouldn't accept the natural order. Sir, his intelligence officer said, we're detecting faster-than-light signatures from the Sol system. Impossible. Humans don't have FTL technology. They do now, sir. Kextar looked at the tactical display showing Earth. 6 months ago, it had been a simple conquest. Now it was the center of a growing storm that threatened everything the Dominion had built. Prepare the siege fleet, he ordered. All available ships. We end this now. But even as he gave the order, Kextar wondered if it was already too late. In the depths of space, Captain Yoonji Shin's ship returned from its first mission beyond the solar system. Their cargo hold was filled with something more valuable than weapons or supplies: information, maps, communication codes, and most importantly, the location of every Dominion prison world where rebels were held. Dr. Kyung-Soo Lim was waiting for them in the hidden asteroid base that had become humanity's shipyard. His latest discovery was spread across multiple screens, showing energy patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. Captain, he said as Yoonji entered the lab, I know why our technology has been advancing so quickly. Tell me, Earth's position in space isn't random. We're sitting on a quantum anomaly that's been affecting human brain development for thousands of years. It's why we're so creative, so adaptable. We think differently than other species. Yoonji studied the data. And the aliens don't know this? They know we're different, but they think it's a weakness. They see our chaos and assume we'll break under pressure. Kyung-Soo smiled. They don't understand that chaos is our strength. Ambassador Sun-hee Park was in the middle of her first diplomatic meeting with representatives from 12 different rebel species. They met in the asteroid base's conference room, which had been quickly converted from a storage bay. The humans have shown us something we had forgotten, said Kethmar, speaking for the Nethians. That freedom is worth fighting for no matter the cost. But fighting alone isn't enough, added a Zelek rebel whose name sounded like wind chimes. We need coordination. We need a plan. Sun-hee looked around the room at beings from across the galaxy, all united by one thing. They had seen what humans could do, and they wanted to do it too. Then let's make one, she said. General Haewon Kang was reviewing battle plans when the alert came in. Dominion reinforcements were arriving in the outer system. Not dozens of ships this time, but hundreds. Admiral, he called Kim. They're bringing everything they have. Daeho looked at the tactical display showing the massive fleet approaching Earth. It was 10 times larger than the original invasion force. Enough firepower to crack planets, but spread around Earth were things that hadn't been there 6 months ago. Hidden bases, rebel ships from a dozen worlds, weapons that combined human creativity with alien technology, and most importantly, allies who believed that victory was possible. Send a message to all ships, Daeho ordered. Human, alien, everyone fighting with us. Tell them the real war is about to begin. As the message went out, something happened across the galaxy. On 43 conquered worlds, beings who had lived in gray cities under gray skies looked up at the stars and remembered what it felt like to dream of freedom. The Dominion was about to learn that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the odds. Aliens expected our surrender, but got the rise of Terran power. The war had been going for 1 year now. What started as Earth's desperate fight for survival had become something bigger, something that made the Dominion's high command wake up in cold sweats. Colonel Young-Ho Kim moved through the shadows on Dominion Station 7, deep in enemy territory. His team of Special Forces soldiers came from 6 different worlds, but they all shared the same training: how to fight when you're outnumbered, outgunned, and far from home. Target acquired, whispered Sergeant Lee Min-soo, a human demolitions expert. Through their night vision, they could see the massive computer core that controlled communications for this entire sector of Dominion space. Zellic team. Status? Young Ho spoke into his comm. In position, came the reply in accented English. The Zellic rebels had learned human military tactics quickly. They were natural infiltrators, able to change their skin color to match their surroundings. Nethian team. Ready, rumbled a deep voice. The Nethians were strong as bears and tough as rocks. Perfect for the heavy lifting this mission required. Young Ho looked at his watch. All across the galaxy, similar teams were preparing to strike at the same moment. Not just military targets, but something more important. The Dominion's ability to control information. Execute, he ordered. The explosions began 30 seconds later. Dr. Sora Choi watched the psychological profiles scrolling across her screen in the hidden research facility on Luna. As Zordon, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, she had spent months studying captured Dominion soldiers and intercepted communications. They're breaking down, she told Admiral Kim during their daily briefing. The Dominion's strength comes from certainty. They believe they're superior, that conquest is natural, that resistance is pointless. And now they're not certain of anything. Their conquered worlds are rebelling. Their easy war has become a grinding fight. Their soldiers are starting to ask questions they've never asked before. Daeho studied the data. After a year of fighting, he had learned to read alien tactical patterns almost as well as human ones. Questions like what? Like whether the Dominion is actually right about anything. On the bridge of a Dominion cruiser patrolling the Outer Rim, Sub-Commander Vextai was having exactly those thoughts. He was a young officer from the Korthak species, raised to believe that the strong ruling the weak was the natural order of things, but the humans had been fighting for a year. They should have been crushed, absorbed, forgotten. Instead, they were winning battles, liberating worlds, and inspiring other species to fight back. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the Sol system. Another surrender offer? Vextai asked hopefully. No, sir. It's different. The main screen filled with the image of a human woman in a diplomatic uniform. Ambassador Sun-hee Park looked tired but determined as she spoke directly to the camera. Soldiers of the Dominion, she said. My name is Sun-hee Park. I represent the Free Galactic Alliance. Vextai had heard rumors about this alliance. Rebel groups from across Dominion space coordinated by humans, fighting for something called freedom. I'm speaking to you because I know many of you didn't choose this war. You were born into the Dominion system. You were told it was the only way. You were taught that conquest was natural and resistance was futile. Around the bridge, officers shifted uncomfortably. These were exactly the thoughts that had been troubling Vextai. But you've seen what humans can do when we refuse to accept what we're told is natural. You've seen conquered worlds rise up and fight back. You've seen the impossible become possible. The transmission showed images from liberated worlds. Not gray cities with identical buildings, but colorful places where different species work together by choice rather than force. The Dominion tells you that you're fighting for order and peace. But look around you. Is this peace? Are the rebellions bringing order? Or are they bringing something the Dominion has tried to destroy? The image changed to show human and alien children playing together on a liberated world. Hope, Sun-hee continued. That's what we're really fighting for. Not just freedom from the Dominion, but freedom to choose our own path. Freedom to be something better than conquerors and conquered. The transmission ended. The bridge was silent except for the hum of electronics. Sir, the communications officer said quietly. What are your orders? Vextai looked around at his crew. They were all young, all recruited from worlds that had been part of the Dominion for generations. None of them had ever seen a war like this. Maintain patrol pattern, he said finally. But his voice carried doubt that hadn't been there before. Captain Yoonji Shin stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Defiance, watching the largest fleet in human history prepare for battle. Ships from 15 different worlds flew in formation around the massive vessel. Some were sleek alien designs. Others were ugly human constructions welded together from salvaged parts. All of them were here by choice. Status report, she ordered. All systems green, reported Commander Jinwook Park, her second in command. The quantum drive is stable. Weapons are charged. Allied fleets are in position. Through the viewports, Yoonji could see Earth in the distance. The planet that had refused to surrender was now the center of the largest rebellion in galactic history. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt worked around the clock. Refugee camps had become recruitment centers. The home of humanity had become the capital of something new. "Ma'am," the sensor operator called out. "Incoming transmission from Earth." Admiral Dae-ho Kim's face appeared on the main screen. He looked older than his years, but his eyes burned with something that hadn't been there when the war started. Not just determination now, but genuine belief that they could win. "Captain Shin," he said, "the operation is approved. Take the fleet and hit their supply depot at Kepler Station. Show the galaxy that the Dominion can be beaten anywhere." "Understood, sir." Yoonji looked around her bridge at officers from a dozen different species, all working together with a precision that would have been impossible under Dominion rule. "All ships," she announced on the fleet comm. "Prepare for hyperspace jump. Target Kepler Station. Mission: liberation." The fleet vanished from normal space in a flash of twisted light. Overlord Kextar stood in the war room of Dominion Command, staring at a tactical display that showed red marks across the galaxy. Each mark represented a world in rebellion, a supply line cut, a battle lost to the Alliance. "How many ships have we lost this month?" he asked his aide. 47 destroyed, sir. 83 captured, and the aide hesitated. "What? 15 more have defected to the Alliance." Kextar's claws scraped against the metal table. Defection had never been a problem before. Dominion soldiers fought because they believed in Dominion superiority, but after a year of fighting humans and their allies, that belief was cracking. And the humans? Intelligence estimates their fleet strength has tripled in the past 6 months. "They're not just building ships, sir. They're building a new kind of civilization." "What do you mean?" The aide activated a holographic display showing liberated worlds. Instead of the gray uniformity of Dominion rule, these worlds showed incredible diversity. Different species working together, sharing technology and culture, creating things that neither could have built alone. "They call it the Free Galactic Alliance, sir. It's not just a military organization. It's a new form of government based on cooperation instead of conquest." Kextar studied the images. After 43 successful conquests, he understood how to break civilizations. But the humans weren't just fighting to preserve their civilization, they were building something entirely new. "Prepare the final offensive," he ordered. "Every ship, every weapon, everything we have. We end this before it spreads further." But even as he gave the order, Kextar wondered if it was already too late. The idea of freedom, once released, was harder to kill than any fleet. Deep in space, Dr. Kyung-Soo Lim made a discovery that changed everything. Working in a laboratory built inside a captured Dominion ship, he had been studying the quantum anomaly that made human brains work differently. "It's not just Earth," he told the Science Council during their emergency meeting. "The anomaly extends through hyperspace. Every human ship, every place we've been, we're changing the quantum structure of space itself." "Changing it how?" asked Dr. Mi Young-han. "Making it more chaotic, more unpredictable. The Dominion's technology relies on order, on predictable patterns, but we're introducing chaos into the very fabric of space." Dr. Hai-Jin Park, now serving as the Alliance's chief intelligence officer, understood the implications immediately. "We're not just fighting a war," she said. "We're changing the rules of how the universe works." Kyung-Soo nodded. "And the more we spread, the more chaotic space becomes. The Dominion's advantage in technology is disappearing." As if to prove his point, reports came in from across the galaxy. Dominion ships experiencing system failures, communications breaking down, weapons misfiring at critical moments. The universe itself was beginning to favor freedom over order. The final battle was coming. Both sides knew it. But for the first time since the war began, the Dominion wasn't certain they would win. Aliens expected our surrender but got the rise of Terran power. 2 years after the first alien ships appeared over Earth, the largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Dominion had gathered every ship they could find, pulling vessels from the farthest corners of their empire. They came to end the human rebellion once and for all. They found something they never expected. Fleet Admiral Ji-hoon Park, Dr. Hee-jin Park's younger brother, stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Freedom's Dawn. Around him, the largest fleet in human history waited in formation, but these weren't just human ships anymore. Sleek Zealot cruisers flew alongside boxy Nethian destroyers. Korthak fighters swarmed around human carriers built from asteroid mining platforms, and in the center of it all, ships from Earth, ugly, improvised, and absolutely deadly. "Sir," reported Commander Boram Lee, now his tactical officer, "Dominion fleet is approaching. 2,000 ships, all classes. And our strength? 1,500 ships from 47 worlds, sir." Ji-hoon smiled. The numbers were against them, but numbers had been against humanity from the beginning. What mattered wasn't how many ships you had, but how much your crews believed in what they were fighting for. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Today we finish what Earth started." On the planet SciFiPrime, capital world of the Dominion, something unprecedented was happening. Vorthak citizens who had never questioned their government's right to rule were gathering in the streets, watching news feeds from across the galaxy. The feeds showed liberated worlds where different species lived and worked together as equals. They showed former Dominion slaves building their own cities, creating their own art, choosing their own leaders. "Is this real?" asked a young Vorthak worker named Sekta, staring at images of humans and aliens working side by side. "The government says it's propaganda," replied her friend. "But if it's propaganda, why does it make me feel so hopeful?" That same hope was spreading across Dominion space like a virus. On every world, beings who had accepted their place in the galactic order were starting to ask dangerous questions. Why should the strong rule the weak? Why couldn't different species choose to cooperate instead of being forced to obey? Why had no one ever tried to build something better than an empire? Supreme Commander In-sung Lee coordinated the battle from a hidden command center built inside a captured Dominion battleship. Around him, generals from dozens of species worked together with a precision that would have amazed the first humans who fought this war. "Dominion fleet is in range," reported General Haewon Kang. "They're maintaining standard formation. They still think this is a conventional battle." "It's not," In-sung replied. "This isn't just about who has more ships. This is about who has more to fight for." He activated the fleet-wide communication system. His voice would reach every ship in the Alliance fleet, carried by quantum transmitters that Dr. Kyung-Soo Lim had developed from human chaos theory. "All ships, all crews," In-sung said. "Today we don't just fight for our freedom. We fight for the right of every being in the galaxy to choose their own path. We fight for the idea that cooperation is stronger than conquest." In the depths of space, the two fleets met. The battle began with the Dominion doing what they had always done: overwhelming firepower directed at the strongest targets. Their capital ships fired planet-killing weapons at the Alliance flagship, expecting to destroy human morale with a single decisive blow. Instead, they hit empty space. "Now," shouted Captain Eun-ji Shin from the bridge of her fast attack ship. The Alliance fleet scattered in all directions, using tactics no military academy in the galaxy taught. Ships too small to matter became deadly threats. Fighters built from garbage fought like they were made of the finest metals. And everywhere, chaos disrupted the ordered battle plans the Dominion had relied on for centuries. Overlord Kextar watched his tactical display with growing disbelief. His fleet was larger and better armed, but the humans and their allies fought like nothing he had ever seen. They took impossible risks, made sacrifices that made no strategic sense, and somehow kept winning. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting quantum distortions throughout the battle area. Our targeting systems are becoming unreliable. That's impossible. It's the humans, sir. Their chaotic tactics are disrupting space itself. Our weapons are missing targets that should be easy hits." Kextar realized what was happening. The humans weren't just fighting with different tactics. They were fighting with different rules. Rules that favored improvisation over planning, courage over caution, hope over certainty. Chancellor Min-Ah Kim watched the battle from Earth's rebuilt defense center. She had been elected to lead humanity's government 6 months ago, chosen not because she was a warrior, but because she understood something the old politicians hadn't. This war was about more than military victory. "Ma'am," Admiral Dae-ho Kim reported, "the battle is going well, but we're taking heavy casualties." "And the Dominion?" "They're taking heavier casualties. But more importantly, their formation is breaking down. They're not fighting like a unified fleet anymore." Min-Ah nodded. They had learned something important about the Dominion over 2 years of war. They were strong when everything went according to plan, but they became confused and hesitant when faced with chaos. "Signal the diplomatic team," she ordered. It's time for the final phase. Ambassador Sun Hee Park's transmission reached every ship in both fleets simultaneously. But this time she wasn't speaking to the Alliance. She was speaking directly to Dominion soldiers. Soldiers of the Dominion, her voice cut through the noise of battle. Look around you. Look at what's happening. The transmission showed split-screen images. On one side, Alliance ships fighting with desperate courage, crews from different species working together as one. On the other side, Dominion ships following orders without question, crews that barely communicated with each other. You've been told this is a war between order and chaos, Sun Hee continued. But that's not what you're seeing, is it? You're seeing the difference between fear and hope. On Dominion ships throughout the fleet, crews stopped what they were doing to listen. The Alliance fights because we choose to fight. We fight for our friends, our families, our freedom to be something better than we are. What do you fight for? Sub-Commander Vextai, still serving on his patrol cruiser, felt the question hit him like a physical blow. What did he fight for? Orders, the Dominion system? The right of the strong to rule the weak? Or was he just fighting because he was afraid to stop? Around him, his crew was asking the same question. Not out loud, but in their expressions, their hesitation, the way they looked at each other instead of their instruments. All Dominion vessels, Sun Hee's voice continued. You have a choice. Continue fighting for a system that sees you as tools to be used and discarded, or join us in building something where every being has value, where every species contributes their unique gifts. Fight for empire, or fight for freedom. The choice is yours. The first Dominion ship to switch sides was Vextai's cruiser, then another, then a dozen more. Within minutes, nearly a quarter of the Dominion fleet had stopped firing and begun transmitting surrender codes. Overlord Kextar watched his empire crumble in real time. Not from military defeat, but from something far more dangerous, his own people choosing hope over fear. All remaining ships, he ordered desperately, ignore the defectors. Focus on the human flagship. But it was too late. The idea of freedom once planted grew faster than any weapon could destroy it. The battle ended not with a great explosion, but with a simple transmission. Fleet Admiral Ji Hoon Park, speaking for the entire Alliance, offered terms that no conquered species had ever received. Lay down your weapons. Join us as equals. Help us build a galaxy where no one rules through fear. One by one, the remaining Dominion ships powered down their weapons. 10 years later, Chancellor Mina Kim stood in the assembly hall of the Free Galactic Alliance, watching representatives from over 200 worlds debate the challenges of freedom. It was messy, chaotic, and completely inefficient. It was also the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. The old Dominion capital had been transformed into a center of learning and culture. Former slave worlds were now thriving partners in galactic civilization, and Earth, the small blue planet that had refused to surrender, was remembered as the place where the galaxy learned that cooperation was stronger than conquest. Dr. Kyung-soo, Lim's research had proven what many suspected. The quantum chaos that humans brought to space-time had fundamentally changed how the universe worked. Order and predictability were giving way to creativity and possibility. The aliens expected our surrender, Admiral Dae-ho Kim said during the anniversary celebration. He was old now, gray-haired and slow-moving, but his eyes still sparkled with the same determination that had faced down the first alien ultimatum. Instead, they got something they never imagined, the rise of Terran power. Not the power to conquer, but the power to inspire others to be free. In the audience, beings from across the galaxy, human and alien, former conquerors and former slaves, applauded together. They had learned the most important lesson in galactic history. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from refusing to accept what everyone says is impossible.